Hey everybody, welcome to Marvel Strike Force here on G4G. I'm your host, Napalm Dawn, and for this video, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the 3.2, or the beginning of June, tier list for the game. And we're going to talk about some teams, their strengths, and where they lay, and just kind of go over the state of a lot of characters. Now, for some reason my BlueStacks is not really playing any audio, so I've got some background music on this one. It is a royalty-free YouTube song in the audio library Jungle Mood by Pei Ruiz. So let's go ahead and see what we've got going on. So we've known for a little while now that we're getting Psylocke and Colossus, and I'm sure a lot of people, if not everybody's got those two by now. We are also building up towards an event that gives us Dark Phoenix, which was a little bit controversial based on everything that happened there, where it looked like originally she was going to release at 5 stars, and then when a lot of people, or when Fox Next realized, hey, we think a lot of people are going to be able to get her out of the gate because of a robust in-place roster, at least predominantly. They went, uh-oh, and then they upped it to 6 stars, and everybody was pissed. There was also a temporary gold orb deal that went on where I think like 90 some odd people managed to get it and get a ton of gold out of it. So to balance that, the game will be giving us a sizable chunk of gold over the next month or so. However, as some people pointed out, hey, that means the people who got that orb or got that sale, they're going to have what the game's given you plus what they were able to snag really cheap for a little while. I mean, in all honesty, that's just a stupid complaint. Like, more power to those people who wind up getting both. But are 90 some odd people really going to imbalance the game that much? And holy shit, I just saw my mercenary sniper over here. God, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stars on my mercenary sniper. Why? I feel like I'm in the back alley of my roster when I get down this low. I had no idea that he was so built up on red stars, and honestly, with his damage being fairly solid, I mean, he's a one-trick pony, but I kind of think I should build this guy a little bit for potentially like a bullseye mercenary team or something here. His red star damage might be kind of interesting, at least if not for maybe like a cheesy war defense or something. So, let's go ahead and take a look at the tier lists as they exist now and their breakdown. So, 2 of the lists are going to come from Kasino, pretty much the man when it comes to Marvel Strike Force tier lists, and one of them is also going to come from Bluemoongame. So, let's go ahead and go over Kasino's 14 unique sure-to-win Blitz teams. And they have to be positioned correctly from left to right. So, of course, the alpha dog is the X-Men team up once Phoenix comes into play. We all know exactly what happens here, and it's kind of nice to see Wolverine get a little bit of a moment in the sun. Currently, the way that I have Wolverine in use is that he is on a hero brawler team for me. So here it is on the left side here. This is anchored by Miss Marvel, working with hero brawlers, and also we've got Storm and Wolverine doing the X-Men thing going on over here. This team, it doesn't have sustain in the fact that there isn't a healer. There is a tank in Miss Marvel, which she does get it done, but there are just a lot of attacks on this team, and there are so many follow-ups, and there are times in which you could get 2 follow-ups off of somebody. Like Deadpool can initiate, Miss Marvel can initiate Wolverine, which then drags Storm with him. So this team is really fun for a lot of extra attacks, and believe it or not, they certainly do add up over time. So then, of course, we have the Brotherhood team, and Juggernaut is definitely an obnoxious tank with his resistances. Sabretooth is sometimes called a good Wolverine. There's Magneto in the legendary position, which you can see is the purple. Mystique, Mystique is frail, but she dodges a lot, and I ran into a Mystique the other day that was doing a surprising amount of damage, kind of being like a blue Black Widow over there, and Pyro for bleeds and everything like that. By the way, I think it's time Fox next gives us some more hit point reducing effects out there, essentially called dots, damage over time. The fact that everything gets called a bleed, it's like, yeah, okay, it's a dot, it amounts to the same thing, and it does stop somebody from ticking down from a bleed and a poison or a bleed and on fire or something like that. But do we really have to just categorize every dot in the game as a bleed? Isn't it time that we move on a little bit? So Venom is mentioned here, which does go along with some of the debuffs and the transferring of negative debuffs and dots and everything. So you got the bleeds over there, the bleeds from Pyro, and Venom can go ahead and spread them, plus Kingpin counts as a villain, which there's synergy there. Of course, still staying in the top 3, we have the Shield team. And taking a look over here, I noticed, I think there was a slight difference. Yeah, so there's a slight difference in the Shield team between Casino and Blue Moon. You'll notice everybody's helmet head over here, and we've got that obnoxious guy. I gotta tell you, he annoys the absolute piss out of me when I see him on an enemy team. When he gets that passive going of just countering everything that you wind up doing, kind of bugs the crap out of me. So Casino, or let's see, who was it? Yeah, so Casino basically has this team over here, and he isn't mentioned. So the trooper isn't mentioned. It's basically assault and security. But over here at Blue Moon, they've got him in on it. And to be honest, yeah, he does annoy the crap out of me with fire support and everything like that. And it makes me want to get rid of him as quickly as possible. And when you have a decent taunter in effect, this guy just gets to sit back and just kind of be a laughing little jackass at the whole thing. And of course, he's over here in the sideboard for all you magic characters. Black Widow and Quake are part of it. In slot number 4, we have the Wakandan team, which was mentioned as being extremely good in other areas of the game. Got Baku, we've got Killmonger, Black Panther, Okoye, and of course the legendary over there for Shuri. Let's take a look at the Wakandan team. War attack, war defense. Oh yeah, okay. Hey, that's interesting that they have that as a category. Never have been down that far enough to notice it. So my Wakandan team lacks Shuri, but if I ever do get her, she's coming in at 4 red stars. Didn't really make a whole lot of progress on M'Baku. Killmonger and Okoye are doing reasonable for me, and Killmonger is actually somewhat up there, and he's got he can get up to 3 red stars. My Black Panther I never really built, mostly because early on people were like, well, why would you want to get Black Panther? Don't spend money on him. You can't build him past whatever he comes in as, and I kind of took that one to heart, and he got neglected, but you know, 4 stars isn't too bad. And the Wakandan team over here, yeah, there's no leeway on that one. You're not really going to be able to change that one up much. In slot 5, we have the Armor team, and that one is, of course, anchored by Iron Man as the legendary, and Rescue really enabling this team to do good things. One of the things that was brought out about Rescue is that her passive originally was kicking in too late, which means that her buffs were kicking in after typically the other power armor users did their AoE. So it was wasted. Well, Fox next fixed it so that she goes early in what would be called round 2, and then she's able to buff the team before everybody does their AoE. In my power armor case, I've got a pretty decent Iron Man at 2 red stars, a decent War Machine, been building Rescue a little bit, and God, I hate her helmet in this game. Her face representation with that helmet is just really unnerving in this game. This is the ugliest version of Rescue at a Marvel Avengers Alliance, or Marvel Future Fight, and Strike Force that I've seen. It's just, oof. So they add Vision to this team. He is a very, very good addition to this team with a Cyborg of Wasp, Crossbones, and Rocket Raccoon. So Rocket Raccoon being tech can give these, he'll give these guys buffs, and he's just a good passive to have around tech. And Crossbones gives you, if you're missing one of these guys, a little bit of sustain with the tanking. Down here at 6, we have the Defenders, and if we take a look at Blue Moon, I do believe the Power Armor team is just, exactly the same. Not much difference in that one at all. So we have the Defenders team of Luke, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and Punisher. Very, very standard. Jessica with keeping the team clean and debuffs not really going on her. Punisher for heavy damage, especially on villains. Luke protecting everybody, Iron Fist doing his healing. And it's funny how Iron Fist is considered super trashed here, but he has a major role to play on Defenders teams. And then you have some substitutions with Night Nurse, Spider-Man for City, and Miss Marvel bringing in the Hero Brawlers. Again, over here with the Defenders, I think it is pretty much standard. However, this one calls in a Miss Marvel Defenders team, and that is a little bit different. So that one is a little unusual to not have Luke in there. This one has got some hero brawling with Daredevil, and I believe actually just about everybody on that one except for Punisher. So it's decent, changes things up a little bit, and it does add some pop to the team because of the extra attacks that she can create. So here at number 7, we have the Spider-Verse team, and we have some substitutions with Kingpin for villains, Scarlet Witch for debuff transference, plus protecting the team, which she's got the deflect up, and Miss Marvel, who has some synergy with Miles and Spider-Man. The epic here is Carnage. Now, I have a somewhat similar team based off of these guys. So here's my Spider-Verse now, looking really solid, except for Green Goblin. My issue with this team is that it lacks a tank, and I think they could potentially rework Venom into being a little more tanky. If you remember the movie, if I'm thinking of it correctly, and I do believe I am correct on this one, the movie was kind of based off of Venom's Lethal Protector line. Why not tie that into how Venom is in the game? And granted, no game that I've ever really seen Venom in has he acted as a tank. Now, he's acted as a bruiser, which is an aggressive tank, usually based on strength, but not necessarily things about protecting and keeping people alive and all of that. But if they're going to have a Spider-Verse team and people are going to start classifying Spider-Verse teams together, why not give him something to do and let him be a tank? So the way that I have that team right now is, and I know this is where everybody's going to freak out, but I have Scientist Supreme and Scarlet Witch basically putting out a lot of dots on it, or debuffs on the enemy team, along with Miles, especially the Disrupted, and Spider-Man with the stun and defense down, and the Spider-Verse synergy here. So typically Scientist Supreme heals everybody late in round 1, puts out the debuffs, and then changes the debuffs on my side to buffs later on. Venom spreads the debuffs, Scarlet Witch spreads the debuffs. It's also pretty good if Venom goes after the Disrupted, but that's rare. But Scarlet Witch often goes after Miles, adding the extra time to the Disrupted there and everything. Green Goblin, this is another one where I wish they would do something different with Green Goblin, because they could very easily have changed some of his abilities to do a debuff. Like here, Fire and Brimstone. I mean, it's straight damage, but where's a debuff to this? Where's like a burning on that graphic? Where is poison? Like Marvel Future Fight and what you would think a Green Goblin based character would do with all the grenades and everything. I really think they're missing the boat on Green Goblin, although after watching Spider-Verse last weekend, clearly I know this is Ultimate Green Goblin, but yeah, I wish they would do something. I wish a Spider-Verse team would get 2 reworks to make Venom a little bit more tanky, and to make Green Goblin have some dots to him, and then you've got a nice variety over here. You still don't have much in sustain other than Venom's self-healing and everything like that, but at least if you had a tank, you could get some sustain out of them. But that's where Scarlet Witch comes in, and also Kingpin comes in, upping the offense and the defense and providing some summons out there to give the rest of the team some life, and he's a villain. So on my lineup, considering these 4 right here are doing very well, I could make a Spider-Verse team by dropping off Green Goblin and putting Kingpin in there. Or, you know, keeping Scarlet Witch. It's just, I'm so addicted to what Scientist Supreme does, and I know that's odd to say. That's why I haven't made any substitutions. We have a Guardians team with Gamora not on it, which is unusual. These guys definitely have some punch. They're obnoxious as hell. I do believe Guardian teams tend to punch above their weight a little bit. Blue Moon has Vision and Minerva in there, and to me this seems a little too defensive. Like, this seems like a good Guardians-ish defense team, but I don't know that I would want to use this on offense. I feel like it lacks a little bit of punch. And over here, I mean, Star-Lord just plays obnoxious, and really this one banks on keeping Rocket alive and keeping them buffed. Mantis, I think, is better a little bit for more PvE content. I might pull Mantis out and put Gamora in, because Gamora is definitely one of my top 5 tunes. So over here we have a Shield-ish Avengers team with Cap, Black Widow, Quake, Hawkeye, and Hulk. And that is actually pretty much my main team in the game to a degree, where I've got a 5-star Black Widow. It's one of my good Red Star pulls. Captain America, Yondu, Night Nurse, and Gamora. That is my main team. So it's a slight variant on it, and my Quake isn't too far away. I could probably pull my Quake in there if I wanted to. And my Hawkeye's not too far away either. These guys having 2 tanks is a little slow, but Hulk, when he does his AoE, is actually pretty solid. And they also have some mercenaries, Falcon, and Scarlet Witch. Although I'm not really too sure what Scarlet Witch's role is in this one. I mean, Hulk and Captain America both do some pretty good tanking, so you don't really need Scarlet Witch to keep the team alive. Over here on Blue Moon, they don't really have that team. They have them broken up in some areas with a tech team, making use of some of the Guardians military, which is definitely a viable team with Captain Marvel over there. 10 is the essentially the Hero Brawlers team, which is anchored by Miss Marvel, and then features Hero Brawlers with the upcoming America Chavez, possibly substituting in Cable, Winter Soldier, and Spider-Man. Not really too sure about Cable and Winter Soldier there, but Spider-Man's good. You've got the Kree team, which is oddly not making that much use of Minerva, which is a little weird. But over here, you've got the Guardians team improved, which is using Minerva. And you've got a Kree team over here using Captain Marvel. So there's definitely some differences there. Oracle, you know she's going to be around because of the way that she grants everybody energy. Reaper, I believe, has got that healing debuff and everything. These guys don't make the best use of other Kree out there. With the exception that the one guy... Kree Oracle, I think, is pretty good for a Kree team. Korath is definitely debatable. I should get my Captain Marvel up a little further. I hate fighting her on defense because of that AoE early on, and it's sizable. But she's just 2 notches away from fulfilling her red star, so I may start moving her up when she hits the 4. So then we move on to basically a villain team. Hand Sentry, Crossbones, Kingpin. This team is very good. I mean, Kingpin and Minerva will keep Crossbones and Yondu super healthy for them to do their work. And of course, Hand Sentry he helps everything that he does. He's sort of like the Shield. God, what's her name? The one that makes somebody invisible. Yeah, Shield operative. Sort of like a Shield operative slash Loki. And that's funny that I haven't seen Loki anywhere. Well, no, I stand corrected. Sitting there right below it. So here we kind of have a Cosmic Mystic one. Not little surprised at the Mercenary hanging in there. Yeah. Not too sure what the Mercenary Lieutenant's role is in that one. But this is... It's weird to not see Thanos on some more teams over here. But basically this one is dumping energy. Usually a lot of people have him dumping the energy into Mordo almost consistently. And then we got some guys on the sidebar here. Not exactly sure the theme on 14, to be honest. And over here on Blue Moon, they've got a custom team. So this one you can't even really say is villain. It's just got good survivability with Vision shutting down buffs and everything. Hand Sentry, all the work that he does. Kingpin with the summons and the defense up and everything. And the additional attacks from villains. You've got a tech team over here, which is predominantly anchored by Rocket, the Wakandan team. So there is definitely some variance between them. And then the overall individual tier for 3.2 God tier now features a couple people that are a little surprising. Black Widow, Captain America stay up there, Captain Marvel's there, Carnage, which is pretty cool. Magneto, Minerva, Nick, Dark Phoenix, Pyro. That's very odd to see Pyro up at God. Rocket Raccoon, pretty good damage. Spider-Man. Spider-Man sometimes dodges 5-6 things in a row. Star-Lord. Thanos, interesting to see him up at God. Sometimes he's been lower. Vision, the Whale is Ultron. Demigod, Black Panther. Cyclops, +1, so that would be an X-Man team. Daredevil, which is a Defenders team. Deadpool, Drax, which was called one of the very good early on tanks in the game, and he fluctuates a little bit. Falcon, Iron Man, Jessica, so they gain bonuses for their teams. Loki, and there he is again. I gotta find out what's going on with Mercenary Lieutenant. Oh, is it because of the ability energy? Oh, offense up. Okay. Okay, if the allies mercenary. So a little bit of heal. Okay, I kind of see how he's coming in now. Quake +1 into God tier. She was a classic God, and I think she's fallen off a little bit lately. Miles, Venom, War Machine, Yondu. Yondu, I think, was a god in the past, and I still consider him pretty godly with his kit. Colossus gets a +2 if he goes on the X-Men team. Crossbones drops down to Elite. That's hard times for Crossbones, but I still really, really like him. Doctor Strange goes up. Gamora goes up. He goes up on Spider-Verse. Groot, Hand Sentry goes up on a couple teams. Hawkeye. Hulk just sitting in Elite. So a lot of these guys are just considered utility that get called up to the big leagues at times. Iron Fist gets 2 for Defenders. Killmonger gets 2 for going on a Wakandan team. Kingpin, Korath, Luke, Mantis, one of the other mercenaries, which is the mercenary riot guard. That's weird to see Mercs getting some love. Primary target damage, nothing fancy there. Rampart, taunt up, gain defense up. Yeah, just some decent tanking. Still weird to see him up there. Psylocke, who's kind of assigned to Supreme in a way. Ronin, Sabretooth, Scarlet Witch, Shield Medic, +2 on some teams. And also a built-up passive for her. Wasp, and then we've got another Shield member. And then usable America Chavez gaining +2, probably on Hero Brawlers. And then this is like the real deep bench over here. Storm getting called Raid or Dark Dimension Essential. +2 again, probably for an X-Man team. Thor, not too sure where Thor's +2 is coming from. Unless, is it Wave 1 Avengers maybe? Yeah, maybe somewhere on a classic Avengers team there. Winter Soldier sitting low. Red Skull still showing up on lists. Poor Handsork. I loved Handsork. She was my main healer for a while. Nobu was so good in the beta, and he's just nowhere now. Really doesn't mean as much as he used to. Shield Op is very specific. She shouldn't get a plus for a team so much as when you got to keep somebody alive. Elektra's rotting and usable. Ant-Man's here. Poor Bullseye. Nobody gets any love for a mercenary team with him. The AIM tier, mediocre. However, Rescue, the Oracle, M'Baku getting some pluses over there. Let me go back to Kree real quick. So the Noble, of course, she's extremely good at times. Scientist Supreme, it's very interesting to see her get some love. And I'm curious as to what team she's getting the +1 off of. Is maybe it's just a debuff situation like what I use her for. But nobody ever gives her love. It's sad to see Ultimus down as mediocre. You would think for somebody so hard to get, he should be at least straddling Elite and Demigod, but no. And then Trash tier is the rest of the AIM and the Hydras, just like mediocre. And a couple Ravagers. I mean, actually, I think all the Ravagers are isolated down here. All the Boomer is pretty good. I mean, if you're going to face team with taunts, Boomers are good for splashing some decent damage. But, that is pretty much it for the teams that we've got now. They're saying over on Blue Moon that Brotherhood of Mutants is currently ruling the arena. So here's some arena defense. We've got Kree, the Marvel Brawlers, Cosmic Tech, a custom team, pure defenders. So this is classic defenders over here. Shield, still got him sitting there. Raid tier list, Cosmic teams, Kree teams, another Cosmic team, Shield, Avengers, X-Men. Weird to have Night Nurse there, but I guess they're like, we're just going to stick a healer there. Brotherhood, Military, Miss Marvel. And to wrap it up, I'll just go down through the teams that I use. Pretty much for Blitz is where I've got them set up, and I'll tell you the theme. So this is my Miss Marvel Hero Brawler team, where it's just a lot of extra attacks between the X-Men and the Hero Brawlers. This is my debuff team, and this is where I'm probably one of the only ones who ever has Scientist Supreme this high. This team is these guys are fun. Like, these low 3 here from D, they're just fun teams. This team over here is just a lot of buff removal. We've got healing stopping, we've got Doctor Strange flipping buffs, we've got Crossbones just doing his thing of blowing everybody up. Poor Hawkeye, he's all alone and no red stars over here, but he removes buffs. He's good for getting a taunt out of the way. I've got double blinds, I've got a slow and an offense down, I've got a buff flipper. This is a fun team. This team is just my workhorse team. I can't always say that they're fun because they're not flashy, except for sometimes Yondu and Gamora are, but Black Widow just really anchors the team by stealing buffs, and sometimes she gets a bucket, and I mean, look at her red stars with me. Night Nurse just keeps the team alive. Captain America is there for a little bit of offense, mostly for taunting and defense up. And then Yondu and Gamora do a bunch of the killing, as does Black Widow. These guys are just like, this is my work, and these guys are my weekends. These are my fun. So, hopefully I'll get a power armor team going pretty soon, as I do believe most of my power armors are somewhat close. I don't know if my addition to power... Yeah, I mean, there's a 3,000 gap. Falcon needs some love. Rescue probably wouldn't take too much to get in with the rest of the power armors. The thing is, I don't know that my vision is good enough to add to that team. He probably is not in any way, shape, or form. I passed him. Maybe he's a little bit better than I thought. Well, I would add Falcon to it. I could add Falcon, that's the thing. So Falcon and Vision look to be at roughly the same spot, except Vision's got a lot of the red stars, so maybe I would put Vision in there. That looks like a beast on Captain Marvel on the lip. So, pretty soon, I'll rank her up to her potential full star. So that's it, guys. That is the tier list that we got in early June at 3.2. As always, stop by Kasino's Twitter and Twitch streams and everything for his content. I don't often get to catch it, but I do like to use his tier lists and talk about them. So shout out to Kasino for all the work he does for us. Shout out to Foxnext for fixing Rescue how she should be. And yeah, see you guys out there in the game.